Take a breath for a second, because what you're about to hear could directly affect your rent, your groceries, your bills, and your family's future in 2026. Right now, millions of Americans are quietly asking the same question late at night, staring at their bank apps and credit card balances. Are stimulus checks coming back? Or are we on our own again? If you felt that squeeze, the one where your paycheck doesn't stretch like it used to, where food costs more every single week, where gas, insurance, utilities, and medical bills all seem to rise together, then this video is for you. This isn't political noise. This isn't internet rumors. This is about your wallet, your stability, and whether help is coming or not. Because here's the reality most headlines don't explain clearly. 2026 is shaping up to be a critical financial turning point for millions of households. Inflation may not be screaming like it did before, but it's still biting. Wages haven't caught up, savings are thinner, credit card debt is higher, and many families are one unexpected expense away from serious trouble. That's why stimulus checks are suddenly back in the national conversation, quietly at first, but louder by the week. Government officials are being asked about it. Policy proposals are being floated. Economic warning signs are flashing. And yet, the information online is confusing, incomplete, and sometimes flat out misleading. So in this video, we're breaking it all down step by step in plain English with no fluff. We'll talk about what's officially being discussed, what's not guaranteed, who could qualify if new stimulus payments are approved, and, most importantly, when decisions could realistically happen. And make no mistake, what happens next doesn't just affect numbers on a screen. It affects your groceries, your housing, your healthcare, and your peace of mind. Stay with me, because the details most people miss are the ones that matter the most. And the final sections of this video could change how you prepare for 2026 entirely. Why stimulus talk is back in 2026. If you're wondering why stimulus checks are even being discussed again, the answer is simple. Pressure is building. Not in one place, but everywhere at once. Families feel it. Workers feel it. Retirees feel it. And now, policymakers are starting to feel it too. While headlines often claim the economy is stable, real life tells a different story. Prices may not be skyrocketing month to month anymore, but they also never came back down. That means you're paying more for essentials than you were just a few years ago, permanently. Groceries, rent, insurance, childcare, prescriptions, these aren't luxuries. These are survival costs. At the same time, wages haven't risen fast enough to match those higher prices. For many households, that gap is being filled with credit cards, personal loans, or dipping into savings, if there are savings left at all. That's not sustainable, and economists know it. This is where stimulus discussions come back into focus. Historically, stimulus payments aren't just about emergencies. They're about preventing economic slowdowns from becoming something worse. When consumer spending drops too sharply, businesses suffer, jobs get cut, communities weaken, governments step in before that domino effect accelerates. And here's the key point most people miss. 2026 isn't just another year. It's a year where several financial pressures collide, expiring programs, tightening household budgets, demographic shifts, and broader economic uncertainty. When those forces stack up, stimulus becomes a tool that lawmakers seriously evaluate again. Now, that does not mean checks are automatically coming, but it does mean conversations are happening behind closed doors. Conversations about targeted relief, income-based assistance, and financial stabilization efforts aimed at everyday Americans. What makes this moment different is who is being discussed. It's not just about unemployed workers or emergency shutdowns. It's about working families who are still struggling, seniors on fixed incomes, and households that never fully recovered from earlier economic shocks. So when you hear the phrase stimulus checks in 2026, understand this. It's not random speculation. It's rooted in real economic signals. Signals that directly affect you, your family, and your future financial security. And next, we need to talk about what officials are actually saying versus what social media claims are exaggerating. Official statements versus online rumors. Let's clear something up right now, because this is where confusion spreads fastest. There is a huge difference between official updates and viral rumors. And if you're not careful, misinformation can give false hope or unnecessary panic. Right now, no universal stimulus check has been officially approved for 2026. That's the truth. Anyone claiming guaranteed payments on a specific date is not telling the full story. However, and this part matters, officials are not dismissing the idea either. What we're seeing instead is cautious language, statements about monitoring economic conditions, discussions about targeted relief options, conversations around supporting vulnerable households. These aren't empty phrases. In government terms, they're signals that policy tools are being reviewed. Behind the scenes, lawmakers analyze data constantly: household debt levels, consumer spending, employment trends, and inflation pressure. When those metrics point to strain, stimulus enters the conversation again. Not loudly, not immediately, but seriously. Social media tends to skip that nuance. One post says checks are confirmed, another says they're never coming back. The truth lives in the middle, and understanding that middle ground helps you prepare instead of panic. What is official right now is this: policymakers acknowledge that many Americans are still financially vulnerable. They acknowledge that existing systems aren't reaching everyone effectively, and they acknowledge that future relief may need to look different than past stimulus programs. That's why it's so important to follow verified updates instead of viral headlines. Real stimulus decisions take time. They involve budget debates, eligibility frameworks, and implementation logistics. Nothing happens overnight, but nothing happens without warning either. If you know how to read the signs, you can stay ahead of the curve. And in the next section, we're breaking down what types of stimulus options are actually being discussed, because it may not look exactly like before. What stimulus could look like in 2026? When people hear stimulus check, they often picture one thing: a flat payment sent to everyone. But 2026 discussions suggest something more targeted and strategic may be on the table. Instead of broad payments, policymakers may focus on income-based relief, household-specific support, or demographic-focused assistance. That means eligibility could depend on earnings, family size, employment status, or benefit enrollment. Why does that matter to you? Because it changes who qualifies and how much help is actually received. Targeted stimulus is designed to stretch limited funds further by directing them toward households under the most pressure. That could include working families, seniors on fixed incomes, individuals with disabilities, or households facing rising housing and healthcare costs. It could also include credits, direct payments, or temporary financial offsets tied to specific expenses. Another key difference is delivery speed. Future stimulus plans aim to avoid delays seen in the past by using existing systems, tax records, benefit programs, and direct deposit channels. That means if something is approved, it may move faster than people expect. But again, nothing is final yet. These are frameworks under discussion, not guarantees. The important takeaway is this. If stimulus happens in 2026, it will likely be intentional, targeted, and tied to real financial need. Which brings us to the question everyone asks next. Would you qualify? Who could be eligible if stimulus is approved? Eligibility is the make or break detail, and it's where preparation matters most. While no official criteria exist yet, past patterns give us strong clues about how qualification could work. Historically, income thresholds play a major role. That means your earnings, not just your job status, could determine eligibility. Household size matters too. Families with dependents often qualify differently than single filers. Benefit recipients are another group often considered. Programs tied to retirement, disability, or income assistance are frequently used as eligibility pathways because they already verify financial need. But here's the part most people overlook. Filing status and updated records matter. If your information isn't current, you could miss out, even if you qualify. That's why staying organized financially is so important during times like this. If stimulus is approved, it won't reward chaos. It will rely on data. And the households best positioned are the ones paying attention now, not after announcements are made. And that leads perfectly into timing. The realistic timeline for decisions. Let's talk timing. Realistically, not hype, not guesses. Real timelines. Stimulus decisions don't happen instantly. They follow economic data cycles, budget negotiations, and legislative windows. That means any serious movement would likely occur after clear economic indicators signal need, not before. Announcements come first. Frameworks follow, then votes, then implementation. Each step takes time. But once momentum starts, things can move quickly. If stimulus is approved in 2026, payments wouldn't be random. They'd follow preparation periods, eligibility confirmations, and system testing. Knowing this helps you manage expectations and avoid scams, which brings us to something critical: warning signs and scams to avoid. Whenever stimulus talk increases, so do scams. Fake messages, fake emails, fake promises. No government agency will ask you to confirm information through random links or charge fees for stimulus access. Ever. Period. Staying informed also means staying protected. If you hear something that sounds too certain, too fast, or too easy, question it. Reliable information comes from patience, not panic. What you should do right now. Even without guarantees, there are smart steps you can take today. Update records, file taxes accurately, keep financial documents organized. Being prepared costs nothing, but missing out can cost everything. Why this matters more than ever. This isn't just about money, it's about stability, security, breathing room. For millions of families, stimulus isn't extra, it's essential. And policymakers know that pressure is building. The question isn't whether Americans need help. The question is how and when it arrives. Why 2026 feels different from past years. There's a reason 2026 feels heavier than other years. And if you feel it in your gut, you're not imagining it. This isn't just another calendar flip. This is a moment where economic fatigue is colliding with real-life pressure in American households. Think about it. For years now, families have been told to hang on a little longer. Inflation would cool. Wages would catch up. Stability would return. But for millions of people watching this video, that moment still hasn't arrived. Instead, what arrived were higher rent renewals, grocery bills that refuse to drop, insurance premiums creeping up, and interest charges eating away at every dollar you try to save. What makes 2026 different is that many Americans no longer have a buffer. Savings that once existed are gone. Credit cards are closer to maxed out. Emergency funds were used for emergencies that never really ended. That's a dangerous place for an economy to sit, and policymakers know it. This is also a year where long-term consequences start showing up. When families delay medical care, skip repairs, or cut back on essentials, the impact doesn't show up immediately. It shows up later, all at once. That's when systems strain. That's when governments step in not just to help individuals, but to stabilize the entire structure. Another difference? Public awareness. Americans are more financially literate now than they were years ago. You track prices. You notice changes. You compare statements. You feel it instantly when your money doesn't go as far, and that collective awareness puts pressure on leadership. So when stimulus discussions resurface in 2026, they're not about panic, they're about prevention. Preventing households from falling behind permanently, preventing economic slowdowns from accelerating, preventing families from being forced into impossible choices. This year carries weight, and that's exactly why every update matters. How stimulus could impact your daily life. Let's bring this out of theory and into reality, because stimulus isn't abstract, it's personal. If stimulus checks or relief programs are approved in 2026, the impact wouldn't just show up in your bank account. It would show up in decisions you make every day. Groceries you don't have to put back, bills you can pay on time, prescriptions you don't delay filling, repairs you don't ignore because maybe next month. That breathing room matters more than people admit. When money pressure eases, stress eases. When stress eases, families function better. Kids feel it. Relationships feel it. Health outcomes improve. That's why stimulus isn't just an economic tool. It's a social stabilizer. For working families, even temporary relief can prevent long-term damage. Avoiding late fees, preventing debt spirals, keeping accounts in good standing. Those things protect your future long after the money is spent. For seniors and fixed-income households, stimulus can be the difference between choosing essentials and sacrificing necessities. For caregivers, it can mean support during already overwhelming responsibilities. And here's the part no one talks about enough. Stimulus doesn't just help individuals. It keeps local economies alive. When you spend money at grocery stores, pharmacies, and small businesses, jobs stay intact. Communities stay functional. That ripple effect is exactly why stimulus remains a serious policy option. So when people dismiss stimulus as temporary, they miss the point. Temporary relief can prevent permanent damage. And in 2026, that distinction matters more than ever. Let's end this the right way, not with fear, but with focus. 2026 hasn't decided its story yet, but you're living in the chapter where preparation matters, where attention matters, where staying informed isn't optional, it's essential. Whether stimulus checks happen or not, the fact that they're being discussed tells us something important. Your financial stress is seen, your struggle is recognized, and the conversation isn't over. This channel exists for moments like this, to cut through noise, break down updates, and help you protect your family and your future. So don't tune out, stay connected, stay informed, and stay ready. Because when the next official update drops, you'll want to understand it immediately, not days later. And your wallet, your family, your future, they're worth that attention.